What's going on, y'all? Captain Rymerica here, and we're going to be talking about some reading recommendations before Falcon and Winter Soldier. And as well, we're going to be giving away one of the books that I'm recommending today, so stay tuned. Alright, so I missed the opportunity to do one of these videos with recommended reading for WandaVision, and I apologize for that. I wanted to do that, but I missed it out completely, and now we've kind of passed that window and that show has ended, and man, what an ending that was. Who would have seen that coming, am I right? So anyway, now we have the Falcon and Winter Soldier coming up around the corner, and I wanted to make this video to give some people some recommendations of reading that may want to do in regards to some of the characters or plot lines that may be appearing in this show. So I'm going to be giving some recommendations of a bunch of different books and a bunch of different series in relation to basically the characters that we know are involved here. But I want to mention a couple of things first. First, I know that a lot of these books are not necessarily in print currently. I've talked to who I can about trying to get these things back to being available at different stores so that anything that's not available readily right now will hopefully be available readily sometime in the near future. So fingers crossed, but you know, we'll see what can happen. But if you can't buy something physically, just keep in mind that there are also avenues that you can try out to read these stories digitally, including buying them on Comixology digitally, or you can go and subscribe to the Marvel Unlimited app. And if you haven't done Marvel Unlimited before, there's typically a free trial. You can usually get it for at least a week for free. So you can try it out for a week and read some of these fun stories, and then subscribe if you want to continue with it. The second thing that I wanted to mention is, of course, I wanted to give some kind of background recommendation for this entire video, something that I recommend for anyone who has been a fan of Captain America and all of the related characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that is Ed Brubaker's run on Captain America. This is a huge and monumental run and is basically the modern Captain America run. The reason I want to recommend this first is because I am going to make some references back to this series, back to this run as I go forward, and I wanted to talk about it first, saying, you know, if you enjoyed those movies, if you enjoyed specifically the second one, Winter Soldier, this is the run where we see Ed Brubaker bring Bucky Barnes back after having been gone and dead for decades, and reinvents him as the character of the Winter Soldier. If you enjoyed that movie, the storyline here has a lot of similarities to what happened in that movie, and this run goes on for a very long time. I think he had almost a decade of writing on the Captain America franchise, utilizing characters like Steve and Bucky and Sam, and a lot of others that have appeared in the movies and stuff like that. So that overall background recommendation out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the story itself and what this show is going to be about. So the recommendations are really going to be based on the characters that we know are appearing, so I'm going to kind of run through what information we already know about this show. So we do know, of course, that at the end of the Avengers Endgame movie, spoiler alert for anyone who for some reason is watching this video and has not watched Endgame, Captain America, Steve Rogers, did some timey-wimey stuff, and he winds up becoming a senior citizen, and he decides he's going to pass on the shield, hand off the mantle to his friend and partner, Sam Wilson. Sam Wilson, the Falcon that we've seen through several of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, takes the shield from him, but he's feeling like he can't really take on the mantle. He doesn't feel like he's up to the job, even though Steve very clearly believes that he's the right man for it. This show is taking up after that, and we see this kind of conflict with Sam, and he's with Bucky in the series, as the title would suggest, who, you know, Bucky is one of the characters that in the comics did take over for Captain America, just as Sam would as well. As the world believes that Steve Rogers is dead, as we saw in the Spider-Man Far From Home movie, they need a new Captain America. So the government decides to enlist this guy, John Walker, who we know in the comics as USAgent, to take over the role as their government-sanctioned official Captain America. In the meantime, we get the return of a major villain, the kind of central villain who was behind everything back during the Civil War movie, Baron Zemo. Now, Helmut Zemo returns, and this time he's wearing the iconic purple hood, And this is a fan favorite villain and character, and one that I'm really excited to see because I didn't feel like they expanded on him too much back during that movie, and it's fun to see him return in this ongoing series. And Zemo wants to, I think the plot that I read is he basically wants to get rid of all of the superheroes and superhumans and stuff like that. So he's kind of continuing along with the plan that he had back in Civil War, where he got the heroes to kind of fight against each other, and he's kind of expanding on that now. So there's some plot lines that I'm thinking are probably going to come into play as we move forward in this storyline. As well, we see the return of Sharon Carter, aka Agent 13, who was also part of those Captain America movies, and we are going to have the inclusion of a new terrorist group called the Flagsmashers, who are based on a character in the comics called the Flagsmasher. So this is everything we basically know from the show right now. So let's get into the recommended reading that I have for each of these characters and some plot lines that might develop from what we have in the show. Now let's start with the first of the two headlining characters of the Falcon. So they're still calling him the Falcon in here, and it seems that Sam Wilson is not really ready yet to take on the mantle, so I wouldn't be surprised if one of the major plot lines here is with Sam eventually deciding, okay, I'll go ahead and take on the mantle, or maybe someone else does by the end of the series. We'll see in a couple months, I guess. But as far as storylines where Sam does get the shield, this does happen in the comics at the end of Rick Remender's run on Captain America. In Captain America number 25, we see a Steve Rogers who, much like in the movie, has been aged up, decide that he needs to pass the shield on, and he gives it to his friend and longtime sidekick, Falcon. Of course, Falcon has existed in the Marvel Comics for decades at this point, is always a friend and partner to Captain America, as well as being a member of many Avengers teams. So he's someone that's been around for a long time, and it looks like, he could take on the mantle pretty well. So Steve passes this on to him, and this continues in the all-new Captain America series, which would then, after the whole Secret Wars event, spin off into the Captain America Sam Wilson series, which is collected in a lot of different paperback editions, and this complete collection paperback volume 1. This collects kind of the first half of all that work that we have as Sam Wilson takes on the mantle of Captain America, and this is continued and concluded in a second complete collection paperback, which came out a little more recently. I don't have that one on hand. Now, this book is actually going to be the subject of the contest that I'm doing in this video. So if you're interested in winning this copy of the Captain America Sam Wilson complete collection, then I'll tell you how to do that later on in the video. For now, just keep staying tuned to this video as I recommend some more titles. So there's a lot of material with Sam Wilson aside from that. There's even more material where he was Captain America, aside from just the stuff that Rick Remender had written and what Nick Spencer wrote after that. And then Nick Spencer also wrote some other Captain America stuff, but we'll push that to the side right now. We also had Al Ewing's Mighty Avengers and Captain America in the Mighty Avengers, where he does take on a leadership role of that team. We also have, after all of this wraps up and Sam becomes the Falcon once again, he does have his own miniseries written by Rodney Barnes. And of course, there's a lot of classic material with the Falcon. We have different Falcon titles like Captain America and Falcon by Chris Priest. So there's a lot of material out there if you want to expand your knowledge of this character of the Falcon, but I wanted to just focus on the storylines that I think might inspire and inform some of the material in this show. Now, of course, after this, we move over to the other headlining character of Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes. And this is why I was mentioning that Captain America run by Ed Brubaker, because there's a lot of material that Ed Brubaker wrote, as he was the creator of the Winter Soldier version of Bucky Barnes. There's a lot of material that he wrote that's really great if you want a better taste of this character. One of the storylines in particular that I really love is something that's collected as part of the 4th Captain America omnibus by Ed Brubaker, which is titled The Trial of Captain America. And you can see that he's here as the Winter Soldier, but this Captain America with the shiny costume is Bucky Barnes. And this is a spoiler, but for a storyline that literally the spoiler is the title of the story, Death of Captain America. After the death of Steve Rogers, Bucky takes on the mantle, and he is Captain America for several years. Now, during the events of this volume, Steve Rogers has come back to life, and he's no longer Captain America because he's decided he's going to let Bucky continue to take on that role. So this material happens actually during the time that both Steve and Bucky are actively going around, but Steve is calling himself the Super Soldier, so he's not Captain America at this moment. The Trial of Captain America is a storyline that I feel like, from what we know about the story of the show so far, I believe that we could see some elements of the Trial of Captain America utilized in this series. Now, the basic idea behind the storyline, the trial of Captain America, is that we see Bucky Barnes being held accountable for his crimes when he was the Winter Soldier. He was this, Russian kind of terrorist super soldier that was sent to America, and he did do quite a lot of things over the years, even before he appeared here. And now he's being held accountable and being taken to court for all of this stuff. This storyline also features Baron Zemo as a major antagonist, as it turns out that he might have something to do with these things that are happening to Bucky at this moment. And Bucky does wind up being locked up in prison in a gulag, and there's an entire storyline about this, which was very entertaining. One of my favorite parts of the entire Brubaker Captain America run, which I think it was kind of an underappreciated piece of that run, because a lot of people were focusing more on the fact that Steve had come back and were not as enticed by Bucky's continuing story. But it was a fantastic storyline, and it acts as a recommendation for also stories that you might want to read if you're interested in Baron Zemo. And because of what they've said that Baron Zemo is looking to do in this series, I feel like we might see some elements of the trial of Captain America be some sort of the inspiration for what we're going to see in this series. So I wouldn't be surprised if an element of Falcon and Winter Soldier is going to be Bucky Barnes being put on trial for the crimes that he committed during his time as the Winter Soldier. Now, moving forward, after Steve Rogers takes the mantle of Captain America back, Bucky Barnes does return to being the Winter Soldier, and this material does get collected in Omnibus and several other formats as well. We have the 5th Captain America by Ed Brubaker Omnibus, The Return of Captain America, where we see him take on the mantle of the Winter Soldier once again, but now as a heroic kind of spy, covert operatives type of figure. Now, Ed Brubaker is the initial person to continue writing Bucky Barnes in this storyline. He had his own basically year-long run with the Winter Soldier, which is a fantastic series. It is collected in many different places. This omnibus, the normal paperback editions, there's an all-in-one complete collection paperback. And then after he leaves the franchise and is no longer writing Captain America, we see writer Jason Latour take over for a short storyline called The Electric Ghost. These aren't storylines that I'm recommending because I think they'll have anything to do with this show or anything like that, but just people who enjoy the Winter Soldier. These are some stories that I might recommend you checking out. So, like I said, Ed Brubaker's run, followed by Jason Latour's Electric Ghost. And then after that, there is a mini-series by Rick Remender titled The Bitter March. And after The Bitter March, there is eventually another ongoing Winter Soldier series titled Bucky Barnes the Winter Soldier, written by Aless Cott, and with amazing artwork by Marco Rudy, but that's more of a sci-fi take on the character, which is fantastic, but it's just a little bit different. In the comics now, Bucky Barnes has continued to be the Winter Soldier, and he's done things such as leading a team of the Thunderbolts. He has also appeared in several crossover storylines with characters like Black Widow and Hawkeye, and there was actually a miniseries titled Falcon and the Winter Soldier that came out more recently from Marvel, but it has very, very little to do with anything that's going to have anything to do with this series. Just it has that title so that they can get your attention with something that has a similar title. Now, I mentioned Baron Zemo already, but let's look at those other villains and characters like that. Of course, one of the characters that we're getting here is John Walker. John Walker first appeared as a character called the Super Patriot, and we can find his earliest appearances in Justice is Served, which is one of the Captain America Epic collections. His first appearance was in issue 323. And this is from Mark Grunwald's tenure on the Captain America series. Mark Grunwald had introduced this new character of John Walker as kind of a foil to Captain America, whereas Steve Rogers was this patriotic hero who had these very lofty ideals. He had this personality that was founded by when he grew up, because he's a much older character, of course, and where he grew up. He grew up in the North. He has these ideals about what it means to be a patriot. And Grunwald basically had wanted to create a character who was the opposite of that. Instead of being a patriotic hero, he wanted a patriotic villain, someone that had the opposite take on what it is to be a patriot compared to what Steve Rogers believed. John Walker was a younger character, and he was from the South. He was a lot different in what he believed was patriotic. He was a lot more grounded in what he believed was right compared to Steve Rogers' lofty ambitions and stuff like that. Now, while he first appeared as the Super Patriot, eventually he would take on the mantle of Captain America after Steve would abandon the role. Now, this happens 10 issues later in issue 333, which I don't have physically collected, but is in the collection called Captain America: The Captain. This collection is very out of print and hard to find, but it is getting reprinted in the near future as an epic collection. He takes over as Captain America, and this was kind of an idea on Marvel to get this different version of the character that lined up more with what a lot of readers wanted to see at the time. There was a lot of popularity for characters like Wolverine or the Punisher, who were these much more violent characters. And it worked. The sales were really pumping when this happened. Now, John Walker lasts as Captain America for a pretty decent period of time. I think it was close to 20 issues worth of material before he gave up the role and then fell into his next role as the US agent. And this happens in issue 354, which is collected in the Bloodstone Hunt epic collection. Now, of course, John Walker has been a part of the comics since then as well. There's been a lot of different storylines with him as the US agent over time. He was a member of the Avengers Force Works team that happened quite a bit after this. He was a member of the West Coast Avengers for a time, and then eventually he would give up the mantle of the US agent. And one of my personal favorite runs that involved him as a different kind of version of his character was Jeff Parker's run on the Thunderbolts. Now, the Thunderbolts is a series I'm going to kind of highlight in a second here, but I wanted to mention this because it has this first of all, I love this run on the Thunderbolts. I think it's extremely underappreciated. It's basically taking the idea of the Thunderbolts and changing it into this thing where you have these prisoners from the Raft who are being used to go on these missions to fight different villains or to find certain things. And they're being chaperoned by Luke Cage. And essentially the idea here is if they go on these missions, that they're going to have their sentences at the Raft decreased. What does this have to do with John Walker? John Walker at this time is actually acting as the warden of the Raft. So he appears in this different kind of role, this leadership role, but it fits very well for his character. And if you enjoy that character from here, if you wind up deciding to pick up any of that material, he does eventually take on the mantle of the US agent once again when the title is renamed as the Dark Avengers. And of course, I also mentioned the Flagsmasher. Now, Flagsmasher in the comics was introduced in issue number 312, and that is collected here in the Society of Serpents epic collection. Flagsmasher was this anti-government character. He was this supervillain that when fighting Captain America and they believed, oh, he's anti-patriot, then he must be a communist, he said, no, I'm anti-all government. I hate the patriots, I hate democracy, I hate communism, I hate everything. So Flagsmasher in the show is now this organization called the Flagsmashers, and there is a version of the character that is going to appear as the leader of that group, but it's not going to be just a singular entity anymore. It is going to be a larger group of people, which is kind of reminiscent of how the character of the Tinkerer appeared in the Spider-Man Miles Morales game on PlayStation 4, where Tinkerer, instead of being this one character, got evolved into a much different version that had their own army of characters around them. So it kind of reminded me of that. So we've covered basically all of the characters that are appearing: Falcon, Winter Soldier, Baron Zemo. We've covered Flagsmasher, US Agent. But I wanted to give another recommendation. Like I said, I was going to return to the Thunderbolts. And for people who don't know what the Thunderbolts is and don't want to be spoiled of anything, I'm going to tell you right now, don't watch the next couple minutes of the video because I'm going to spoil basically the big twist at the beginning of the series. The Thunderbolts was a series by Kurt Busiek that spun out of the Onslaught event. The Onslaught event basically got rid of the majority of the heroes in the Marvel Comics universe and sent them to this new universe, the whole Heroes Reborn universe. During that time that the heroes were not present in the Marvel 616 universe, there was this kind of power vacuum that needed to be filled. And this was filled very quickly by a new hero team called the Thunderbolts. But the big twist, the big spoiler after the beginning of the series, is that this Thunderbolts team is actually Baron Zemo and the Masters of Evil in disguise. Baron Zemo disguises himself as the leader of the Thunderbolts, named Citizen V. Citizen V, aka Zemo, leads this team of supervillains as they act like they're superheroes because they have ulterior motives, of course, going forward. Now, the paperback editions of the classic Thunderbolts run are very largely out of print, but there is an omnibus edition coming soon. I don't know if this is going to have anything to do with the show, but that they're utilizing Zemo once again. I would hope that maybe there's some hint that he could do something like this, because I love the Thunderbolts. They're such a great series and such a great team that has evolved so much over the years. And also I wanted to mention the Thunderbolts because there is a Baron Zemo miniseries that spins out of the Thunderbolts. Now this is written by the second major Thunderbolts writer, Fabian Nicieza, who continue to utilize the same basic team of characters. And this was a kind of time travel storyline where Baron Helmut Zemo travels back in time and sees some of his predecessors and stuff like that to the Zemo family. So if you're interested in Baron Zemo, this is another mini-series that you can check out, another quick read for you. But I didn't want to mention a Thunderbolts-related book without mentioning what the Thunderbolts were to begin with. So that's everything. That's my recommended reading before Falcon and Winter Soldier. Now, I mentioned earlier, a lot of these books are not currently available physically, but you can always check them out on Comixology or on the Marvel Unlimited app, so you can read them digitally if you're interested in these storylines. All right, and now for the giveaway. I mentioned earlier we're going to be giving away this copy of Captain America Sam Wilson Complete Collection Volume 1. This is the first half of all the Sam Wilson material when he takes on the role of Captain America. So I'm going to tell you guys how to enter to win this book and also a couple of terms and stuff for this contest. Number one, this is only going to be for viewers in the US. I'm sorry for everyone outside of the US. Eventually I do want to do contests where we have gift cards and stuff for online stores so that you can have something to win as well. But for now, it's going to be anyone in the States, in the US territories, or if you have an APO, then we can do that as well. But to enter the contest, it's going to be two things. Number one, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're at it, hit the bell so you're notified for all the upcoming videos whenever I release them, whether it be comic or manga related. And as well, I want you to comment down below and tell me what Marvel Cinematic Universe Disney Plus show that you are looking forward to the most. Whether it be this series, or maybe you're like me and WandaVision was your most anticipated show, or maybe it's going to be Hawkeye, or She-Hulk, or Secret Invasion, Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, any of the other countless shows that are coming out on Disney Plus in the future. Let me know in the comments down below and I will choose a winner. Now this contest is going to last from the day that this video is posted, and it is going to close on the 12th of March. So you have until the 12th to get your comments in, and then I'll select a winner and announce it on the 13th. That's going to be the Saturday. So good luck everybody, and we'll find out in about a week who wins this contest. Thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope it was informative, and I hope it was entertaining as always, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.